And welcome to this chat with Fastly, who is one of our sponsors for. And we've got Laura Thomson, who is the VP of Engineering from Fastly. So I'm just gonna let Laura introduce herself quickly. Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura Thomson. I'm the VP of Platform Engineering at Fastly. If you're not familiar with Fastly, it's an edge cloud platform that assists with content delivery and security products and our new computed edge product.
Okay, thanks for that, Laura. So how long have you been with Fastly?
Almost exactly a year this week.
A,
Before
a
that, I was
year.
at
Okay,
yeah. Before that, I was
great.
at Mozilla for 12 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, it
that
is.
was my that was my career in Citigroup as well. I was with them for
Excellent.
12 years.
Yep.
So that was good. Back when people actually stay longer in companies. Nowadays, people move around quite quickly. Um, right. So maybe like describe to me what your day to day is at Fastly. Like what do you focus on? And yeah.
Yep. So in terms of the platform engineering team, it is everything from the edge back. So that means that I have the people who work on sort of our core product and platform. So folks who write Rust and C all day, all the way back through SRE, so reliability engineering. I have a developer efficiency team, which makes tools for our internal developers. I have the control plane teams, which help essentially control and orchestrate the different parts of our platform. And I have the resilience engineering team, also incident management, and a bunch of odds and ends here and there. So it's a pretty big group. Great
Yeah, it
folks.
sounds very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In
this
terms of my,
developer, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
in terms of my day to day, I can tell you what today looked like. So today we kicked off an architecture documentation working group, which is where we're trying to distill down the core principles about how we do engineering at Fastly for sharing with other folks. I think that's going to be a really fun project to work on. I've had some one-on-ones with folks on my team, both people that report to me and with my boss. And after this, I have a leadership meeting. So that's what a typical day looks like for me.
Very busy.
Yeah, it is.
So you mentioned something about developer. Did you say developer efficiency?
Productivity?
Yeah,
Yeah, developer efficiency, developer productivity.
is that kind of the same as developer experience
Internally, yes.
management, or is it different?
Yeah. So that is for internal Fastly developers. So they work on things
Mm.
like our test platform and so on.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, because I was just chatting to some folks from Facebook earlier, and we were just talking about developer experience. I think that's like a new role that's popping up, and we were saying roles like developer, advocates, DevRels. They were not there before. I'm sure when you were at Mozilla, when you started with Mozilla, we didn't have those roles, right? So yeah, it's evolving
Mm.
every
There's
time.
two different kinds of roles there, I think. There are the externally facing ones. So here we have, a developer relations team who goes and
Mm.
talks to the community about how to use the product and so on. Might give conference talks. They write externally facing documentation. The team that I have is actually internally facing, if that makes sense. They make stuff for our
Okay.
engineers.
Yeah.
Continuous integration and things like that
Yeah.
are the stuff that they're responsible for.
Interesting.
We did actually
How
have
big
both
is
of
the
those things at
team?
Mozilla too, by the way. So how big is that team? It has, it's sort of a pretty, it's not a giant engineering team because it is a support team. It has around 10 people in it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, interesting. And this is interesting question. This is a women tech conference, although our audience obviously is everyone.
The representation is pretty good. I would say that the diversity of the team at Fastly is the best of anywhere that I've worked. So
That's
I
great.
think that we get to that because we have a really good diversity team, but also we have a really good set of core values that guide everything that we do. And one of them is that we are good people. And I think there is sort of a really nice spirit of kindness and openness in our culture, which makes it a great place to work and a great place for people from all different walks of life to participate and
Oh, that's
contribute.
that's actually so refreshing, to hear that, because obviously we've heard of stories, of toxic work environments, and yeah, I really hope that like what we do in tech, there's continuous integration, continuous this and that. There should be some continuous improvements in what we do in terms of like people
Absolutely.
and the working environment. I think that's really
Yeah.
the goal, right?
Yeah, that's a topic I'm really passionate about. I think anything you can do to make the workplace a little better every day is something you should do. I think sometimes people have this idea that they want to build like the perfect way of doing something, but as we know, the perfect is the enemy of the good in the product, and we're used to shipping little code changes every day and continuously deploying, but we have to be able to make those changes to processes as well and to our culture,
Yep.
be continuously adjusting so that we can make it the best it can possibly be.
So how is the team adjusting, in terms of like working together now that we're all working apart? Obviously, Parsley is not unique in that everyone's in this same boat. But how is the team like doing? And are there any like changes or drastic changes that you folks had to implement to make sure that everyone are still productive, although we're all or you're all apart from each other?
So I think Fastly is really a leader in this area because even prior to the pandemic, a lot of folks work from home. I was planning on working from home before this all happened. A large percentage of the staff work from places, in their homes all over the world, and we have a number of offices as well. So I think we were really well set up to move to that asynchronous mode. Obviously, anything like this probably a little harder on folks that are used to being in an office, but the good thing is that a lot of their co-workers already were familiar with that mode of working. We have good cultures around writing things down and around using Zoom for meetings and so on. So it was, I think, an easier step for us than for some teams.
Yeah, yeah, because I know some people struggled, with working from home. Obviously, it's there's also pressure, from like family and kids and all that. Honestly, I admire parents for being able to cope with that. Uh, there are obviously challenges when if you're like a single person compared to folks who are married or with partners or folks who have kids. But yeah, I think we all have our own struggles. But yeah, I think we're all just trying to cope.
Yeah.
um so I'm just trying to think in terms of like offering products wise and services wise. So what are folks would be looking for if they want to explore what Fastly has to offer?
It's a great
Like
question.
like I'm not very familiar with like what everything Fastly does. So although I've got a friend who works with you now, Dora, who's going to be giving a
Oh,
talk at this conference. So yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
we've been friends for a
Dora's
while.
great. I think you'll really enjoy that. So I will start by talking about sort of the newest things first, if that makes sense. So the big thing we've been focusing on this year is Secure at Edge, which is our security offering and includes things like WAF. We've really been building on that. And as you probably have seen, last year we acquired a company called Signal Sciences so that we could essentially, double down our offering in the space, because I think cloud security is really the direction of the future for us. In addition to that, we have now in limited availability our Computed Edge platform, which is a really unique, I'm really excited about this, really unique serverless offering because it runs at the edge. So the latency between, the end user and the service where it's running is really, really low. So it is, seems incredibly fast to the end user. It's quite amazing. And of course, the original product, Deliver at Edge, which is our CDN platform. Those are kind of the main tranches, as it were.
So performance really is like a big thing now. I think a lot of people are focusing on that really seriously right nowadays, which is good because yeah, you lose a lot of users if your site or your app or whatever is not really that fast. So what are the programs that Fastly has in terms of encouraging more diversity, or because we're talking about women in tech, more women to be joining the team?
Of diversity and inclusion, first of all, I want to say that I think that the most important part of that equation is inclusion, making sure that everybody that works here can contribute to the best of their abilities and feel comfortable and at home and, wanted. I think that's super important. And we've done a lot of emphasis on that. I think not just in gender diversity aspects, but in inclusivity across the platform. So, for example, we've just reached the end of Black History Month, and we had a lot of fun internal activities around that, so people could learn stuff. I personally went to a tasting by Black women winemakers, and that was fantastic over Zoom, of course. We had pre-ordered the wine. It was really really well done. I thought there's always activities like that going on at Fastly, and I appreciate that the attention to detail that we have to make folks feel at home. in addition, at the start of the pandemic, we had a number of activities that were done to sort of help support folks, with all of the stress that was going on, discussion groups for different types of folks like parents and so on. And one thing that I thought was sort of particularly lovely was that our CEO did like a, Joshua Bixby is his name, super nice person, actually was reading children's books to people's kids over Zoom in the evenings. And that was just super nice. I really think shows the inclusive humanitarian culture that we have here. In terms of recruiting, we have a number of initiatives here. A lot of it is new, and I'm not super familiar with the exact things that we're doing this year, but I know it's something we take really, really seriously in terms of making sure that we source people from different backgrounds and structure our process to be inclusive of folks with different life experiences, because they bring different things to the table. And, I think a group of folks that is super homogenous isn't going to achieve the same quality of engineering output as what we have. So
Yeah, we were actually covering that same topic earlier in
great.
another chat. So yeah, definitely. We were talking about open source, earlier, and we were saying that yeah, it's good that anyone from anywhere in the world can actually contribute, to open source, and that brings a lot of diversity. And you're not just getting input from, yeah, as you said, a homogeneous group, which is obviously not gonna produce a very diverse whatever product, if it's all coming from one group who looks and talks the same, basically. Okay, so talking about leadership this time, what advice can you give people, or well, women especially out there, because we would like to encourage more women to go into leadership, because that way they can hopefully inspire other women to get into leadership. So yeah.
Absolutely. So for women wanting to enter engineering leadership, I think it's an important point to note that management and leadership are slightly different things. Sometimes when people think about going into leadership, they're thinking about the day-to-day aspects of running a team, and those are obviously super important. As you start to move up the ranks in through sort of director of engineering roles and vice president of engineering roles, you are looking for a slightly different set of skills, and those are the ones that are hardest to learn, because if you're an engineering manager, you probably haven't spent as much time with folks at that levels and don't know what they necessarily spend their time thinking about. So the things to work on, I think, always empathy and understanding people and being willing to meet them where they are. Second of all, communication in every form, spoken, written,
Very important.
all the kinds. And the third thing is thinking about big picture stuff. So whole systems strategy. If you are the kind of engineer that enjoys systems thinking about large complex systems, people are the most complex system there is. And that's what makes it interesting, right? Thinking about the people and the strategy. It's a very complex system. It's a lot of fun to reason about and a lot of fun to work with. So those are the things to focus on. It's good to have role models, and it's really helpful if you can find someone to help sponsor or mentor your career.
Yeah, and as people have said, there's a difference between a sponsor and a mentor, right? The mentor, yeah, okay, he or she's there to kind of give you some pointers, like point you in the right direction. But the sponsor actually is someone who fights for you. So it's very important, to have both, definitely. So is there any like specific program in Fastly that encourages that, or is not like established yet, or maybe it's just an informal thing that happens?
I think in general, sponsorship doesn't tend to take the form of a formal program. It tends
Yeah.
to be, and maybe that's something that, as a industry, we should look at changing.
You should.
But
Yeah.
it's been quite informal to date. I think, as we've seen over the last few years, mentorship programs have become a thing. It used to be that mentorship was informal, and now companies tend to build formal programs around it. So I think sponsorship will head the same way, with being set up to help people develop their careers.
Yeah, it would be good to see that really develop. Especially in terms of like sorry, aspects about salary negotiation and all that, because we know, right, that women in general are underpaid compared to men. And I'm glad to, for example, see sometimes some tweets from women saying, oh, my male colleague told me what he's actually getting, so I was able to negotiate like this rates, which is good, because at least we know there are some people there who are looking after other people, and making sure that they are not getting the short end of the stick, sort of.
Yeah.
um
I think that's exactly right. And I think it's useful to have those conversations with folks before you get to the negotiation stage, like to understand what your peers are seeing so you know what
Yeah.
to ask for.
Yeah. So, to the like men in tech, especially out there, you could definitely help, other women by being transparent about your pay, and help them negotiate better rates for themselves, because at the end of the day, you'd be doing the same work. So I think they deserve, the same amount of pay that you are getting for the same amount. It's
Yes,
the same
absolutely.
type of work. Well, Laura, yeah, this has been a very interesting conversation. I think I learned, a lot from this chat. But are there any like last pieces of advice that you want to share with our audience?
Yes, absolutely. I think one thing that's really important as you go through your career is to be open to opportunities. I think if someone had asked me 15 years ago, would you like to work for an edge cloud platform? I probably would have said, what's an edge cloud platform? So keep your eyes open, learn about different parts of the industry, see what's interesting to you. And always be willing to meet people, network, learn new things. Stay open, and good things will come to you.
Yeah, networking especially is very, very important. That's what I learned in my career as well at Citigroup. Um, if people ask me, like how I was able to move from one country to another, I said, just yeah, like no, meeting people, knowing people, and that's it. And if I want to move to another country, I'll ask if there's any opportunity. So yeah, it's definitely very important. Yeah. So thank you, Laura. As I said, it's been a very interesting conversation, and thank you for being with us today. And thank you to Fastly for sponsoring Techno Day. If you look out for talks from Dora, from a talk from Dora who works for Fastly, I'm sure it's going to be a very,
All right,
very interesting
wonderful.
talk. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it will be. So thank you very much again for joining us, Laura, and thank you everyone for watching this section. And happy International Women's Day.
No problem. Thank you.